require additional variances from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. But I think the primary concern that staff has with this particular proposal is the use itself and whether or not it meets those criteria from the conditional use permit criteria. As you may recall, when the board was developing the mixed-use commercial district, at one point the board had taken out fast food restaurants as a permitted use. We're not going to allow them at all, but did determine at the end of the process to allow them only by conditional use permit where these types of criteria could be met. So that really is the main feedback I'm looking for from the board tonight.
Okay, thanks, Tim. I'll start the other end with George.
My biggest concern was the 28 access, but Andres pointed that out, so I'll reserve and listen to everybody else.
Yeah, okay. Laura?
Just a practical question. If there were deliveries made to a McDonald's here, it seems like a truck coming in would really block everything up. Where would that be handled?
They're showing a loading area in this hatched area right here.
Isn't it on the outside of the
Drive-through queue?
drive-through queue?
Yes.
So they'd be unloading cars and scampering across the drive-through line into the...
My assumption is that the loading would be during non-peak hours of traffic, but that is something that would be of concern if we were to move forward through the site plan review on this.
I sympathize with anybody who's trying to find a useful use for a tough piece of property, but just to be blunt, this really doesn't seem in keeping with anything I heard about what people want to see at Exit 5. It's why we didn't include it as a, fast food as a use that should be allowed. And I suppose before this sounded like a good idea, I'd have to hear a lot of public support for it because it really doesn't sound like anything anybody wanted. Sorry.
Yeah, just to address your, is it okay if I address the question, Tim? Yeah, we understand the deliveries, like most fast food restaurants do, encumber the drive-throughs and parking spaces. And typically, they're done early in the morning, obviously in off-peak. With respect to driveways, I mean, if you were to restrict this parcel to one driveway, you wouldn't be able to get a tractor trailer in and out of the site. So that would be an important factor for, really, for providing that second driveway access. Just to point that out.
Lynn?
I guess my sentiments echo Andre's and Laura's. It just seems like we're giving up a lot for all the work we put into the new district. It seems like we're giving up a lot if we went forward with this.
I agree. I think a more appropriate use might be a bank or something that's not fast food.
It sounds like we have a lot of trouble with the traffic requirement that Tim mentioned. I mean, the success of the business requires it to have a lot of traffic. So I don't think it's the right place for that kind of a activity. Dana?
I'd have to echo everything that everybody else is saying. I don't like the extra curb cut for Route 28. It's going to be more traffic generation, and I just don't think it's right for the site.
John?
The hard part about this job up here is that people have land and they have the right to use it, and if we deem that nothing is suitable for this lot, then that becomes a problem. So, I mean, I hear what everybody is saying, but, we also have to keep that in mind when we're looking at these things. Nothing further.
Okay.
Well said.
Rick? Scott?
No, I'm not opposed to fast food restaurants as far as that being there. I just think what concerns me most is the traffic flow and the impact it'll have on that intersection. And I think it's pretty, it's pretty constricted as far as what they have for parking spaces allowed, and unloading of the tractor trailers and things like that.
Yeah, I think when we went through the master plan development for that area and everything, it really wasn't envisioned at first for fast food, and I think one of the reasons is because of the high volume of traffic through there.
And the other, it's more like a, probably looking for, pedestrian-type uses also. This is not pedestrian-friendly at all, and that's, I think, is one of the difficulties with it. You're practically across the street from a bus station, you're going to find people crossing a very busy highway, and that's dangerous to get there. And then I don't like the curb cut out onto 28. I think what you find is traffic will be sitting there and no one can get in and out of that place anyway. So it's really not, for the volume of traffic of a fast food place, it's just not a good location. I think if you want a viable business for fast food, I think traffic could be more of a problem for you than for us. Mary, just your name and address in the microphone, please. That's what people at home can hear you.
Okay, Mary Pt2, 15 Isabella Drive. I want to speak up for fast food, okay? McDonald's is one of the largest corporations in the United States, and they're there for a reason. I don't think the entrance on 28 is such a good idea, but to say that nobody asked for fast food at this location, therefore nobody in Londonderry really wants fast food, I think is really wrong. And I do believe if we had a second McDonald's, we would achieve the correct ratio of Dunkin' Donuts to McDonald's for our town.
I hadn't considered that ratio, but there's a place right next to Dunkin' Donuts on 28. That's probably is not as there's traffic, but not to the problems that they're going to have here.
And to the point about crossing the street, we really need some ways to cross the highways in our town. I've always had a big problem that you cannot, Andre will tell me, when he worked at the town hall on 102, he had to drive to get lunch. Okay? If we're planning these big developments for Route 28 with the airport, the highway coming over, I think we should address the idea of pedestrians and maybe have a cross light.
Yes. I think, especially for
so they
102.
could walk to their fast food.
Yes, that's what we're looking, because the bus facility is going to lend for walking, and this is, we want to, blend, use of automobile, but more with walking and everything. Thank you.
It has been my experience, though, living near the McDonald's that is in town right now, that it doesn't matter whether or not there's sidewalks or the traffic is terrible or anything else. If kids want to get to that McDonald's, they're going to get to that McDonald's. So I don't think there's a problem with, Vista Ridge people have the sidewalk on the other side of their street, on the other side of their, they have a sidewalk down the hill.
Right.
So, I
Yes.
mean, they will walk to McDonald's. I don't think that that's a problem, but I do think that because of all of the concessions that would have to be made in order for this building to be put on that parcel, that's our problem.
Yeah, I think it would be very difficult to do and have a viable McDonald's.
Can I ask a question? If you had to give up the entrance on Route 28, could you get a tractor trailer in and out?
No, I mean, not unless you made something very small on the site. I mean, you just can't circulate around that lot and get out.
Right.
I understand the concerns about traffic and everything, and if I could just make a couple points. There is a pedestrian crosswalk now across 28 from the bus stop. So there is a design for pedestrian crossing there. I felt that this type of use would complement actually the bus stop. For people waiting for the buses and so forth could actually walk across the street and use this facility. Obviously, the folks up on Vista Ridge could walk down. There is a sidewalk all the way along the right side of that road. So I would make a case that there is some pedestrian access to this site. But in terms of the driveways, I understand there's concerns about traffic. There is a signalized intersection here, so it's controlled traffic, controlled speeds. With the raised median on 28, the right-in, right-out access, you don't have any left turns there, so I'm not sure that no access is the right answer. I'm not sure you couldn't have right out, right in, or a combination like we're showing, but if you don't have a driveway on 28 at all, you're going to restrict your allowable uses that much more. I would like to point out that the size of this lot was reduced quite a bit by the state. If the taking hadn't taken place, we wouldn't need any dimensional relief on this layout. So, you know, if I could, I guess what I'm hearing from the board is they don't like the, you know, prefer the use at all.
No, it's probably a little more intensive than the size of the lot would allow, and also the location. I mean, if it didn't generate as much traffic, something that didn't generate as much traffic would probably be better. Andre?
I just want to note, in fairness to the applicant, that I did state that the Sovereign Realty and the construction company out across the street had access off the side street, but I must note that the subway that was approved, I think staff was overruled regarding eliminating the curb cut there. There's an entrance-only curb cut off of Route 28, but the dual access is off the side road, Perkins Road, so there was an instance where that was allowed.
Well, I see an awful lot of people taking that as an exit, though.
We knew that. That's why we